Welcome to History's Mysterious Minds, the podcast that dives into the strange, unsettling, and often overlooked corners of the past. Each episode, we uncover the lives and legacies of those who left behind more questions than answers. Visionaries, inventors, rebels, and sometimes even victims of history's darker turns. We explore the obsessions that shaped them, the stories that surround them, and the mysteries they took with them into silence. Today's episode takes us into the flickering shadows of early cinema. We all know the story we're told. Thomas Edison, the brilliant American inventor, brought us the electric light, the phonograph, and the birth of motion pictures. But what if I told you someone else invented film before Edison? A Frenchman, working quietly in England, years ahead of everyone else. What if I told you that he was ready to unveil his breakthrough to the world until he vanished without a trace? No body, no luggage, just gone. And what if I told you that in the years that followed, Edison launched his own motion picture empire, and history handed him all the credit? Tonight, we unravel a mystery more than a century old. Did Thomas Edison steal, maybe even murder, the real inventor of cinema? This is the story of Louis Le Prince, the first filmmaker, and possibly the first man erased by the business of motion pictures. Let's rewind the reel. Episode 3, Edison and the Forgotten Frame. Did he kill the true father of film? Louis-Aimé Augustin Le Prince was born in Metz, France in 1841. His background was a fascinating mix of art and science. His father was a military officer and close friend of Louis Daguerre, the man behind the daguerreotype, one of the earliest forms of photography. As a child, Le Prince had the rare opportunity to learn photography and chemistry side by side. He would later study painting in Paris and chemistry in Leipzig. He wasn't just an artist or a scientist, he was both. And more importantly, he was obsessed with movement, how to capture it, how to preserve it, and how to play it back. By the 1880s, photography had advanced, but it was still static. A moment, a single frame, nothing more. Le Prince wanted more. He wanted life, on film. He began designing a machine that could do what no one else had done, record a sequence of images fast enough to create the illusion of motion. By 1888, in Leeds, England, he had succeeded. His device, a single-lens camera, captured moving images on a roll of paper film. His most famous clip, now known as Roundhay Garden Scene, shows a brief blurry moment. People walking in a garden, smiling, laughing. It's only about 2 seconds long, but those 2 seconds changed everything. If you're imagining some crude experiment in a lab coat, think again. This was cinema. Primitive, yes, but real. Years ahead of anyone else, and certainly ahead of Thomas Edison. Le Prince filed multiple patents for his invention. He even designed a projector to display the moving images, a step that Edison himself hadn't yet figured out. In 1890, Le Prince was preparing to travel to the United States to give a public demonstration of his motion picture technology. His family and associates expected this would be his moment, the official unveiling of a new art form. The world would see moving pictures for the first time, and Le Prince would go down in history as their father. But it never happened. On September 16, 1890, Louis Le Prince boarded a train from Dijon to Paris. He never arrived. His luggage was never found, his body was never recovered. There were no signs of struggle, no ransom, no trace. It was as if he'd vanished into thin air. And then, almost eerily, the camera he had built, the one that captured the Roundhay Garden Scene, disappeared from public view for decades. For over a century, there was no real recognition of what Le Prince had done. No credit, no legacy, just a name, slowly fading from history. But Thomas Edison, his star was only rising. In the 1890s, Edison introduced the kinetoscope, a peephole device for watching short motion pictures. He claimed he'd invented it. He claimed it was first, and without Le Prince there to object, he won. By 1894, Edison was marketing films under his name. By 1895, he was in court defending the patents. And in 1898, Le Prince's son, Adolphe, tried to set the record straight. Adolphe filed a lawsuit, arguing that his father, not Edison, was the true inventor of motion pictures. He had documents, patents, testimony. But it didn't matter. The US courts ruled in Edison's favour, and 2 years later, Adolphe Le Prince was found dead. Gunshot wound. Officially ruled a suicide. Another Le Prince gone. Another unanswered question. So now we ask the question, did Thomas Edison have something to do with Louis Le Prince's disappearance? On the surface, it seems too wild to be true. Edison was ruthless in business, yes. He frequently sued rivals, bought out patents, and crushed competition. But murder? That's a different category. Yet, motive? Clear. Means? Arguably possible. An opportunity? Absolutely. Le Prince had filed patents in the US and was planning to make a public demonstration that could have undercut Edison's future claims. He was in the way. And after he vanished, Edison faced no more roadblocks. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe Edison didn't need to pull the trigger. Maybe he just needed to ensure that Le Prince never stepped onto that stage in New York. Silencing a rival doesn't always require a smoking gun. Sometimes it just takes absence. There are other theories, of course. Some say Le Prince committed suicide, though no body was ever found. Others claim his brother Albert murdered him over a will dispute, though again no evidence was ever produced. There's even a strange photograph in the NYPD archives, taken of a drowned man in the Hudson River in 1890, that some have speculated might be Le Prince. But we'll never know for sure. What we do know is that Le Prince filmed moving images in 1888, that Edison filed his motion picture patents later, and that Le Prince's legacy vanished along with his body. Why does this story matter? Because we often assume that history is written by truth, but more often it's written by power. Louis Le Prince may not have had Edison's resources, or influence, or lawyers, but he had something Edison didn't: vision. He saw the future of film not as a novelty or a product to be monetized, but as a new way to capture life itself. Moments, movement, memory, and for that he was erased. But not completely. In a dusty archive, a few seconds of footage still remain. A short scene, in a quiet garden, people laughing, turning, smiling, unaware that they're becoming part of one of the great unsolved mysteries in the history of invention. Thank you for joining me on this extended journey into one of history's most mysterious minds, and one of its most disturbing questions. If you found the episode thought-provoking, be sure to follow, like, or subscribe wherever you're listening, and leave a review to help others discover the stories time tried to bury. Have a forgotten figure or unsolved story you'd like us to explore? Send it our way. We're always looking for the next mystery waiting just outside the spotlight. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and remember, sometimes history doesn't forget. It just looks the other way.